The offense showed up, man. They made a big play in the passing game, so that excited people. And they broke out the RPOs. And I got to tell you, Jody, what are we doing here? Let's just build around what we have. Build around what you have. Jalen Hurts looked unbelievable. Remember, this defense has essentially dominated all summer. And they break out the RPOs in front of the fans, and they didn't know what to do.
And a good Monday morning, Birds fans. Neither one of your Mac and Mac guys need any ayahuasca to get pumped up for today's show. No, we're zen enough because another marking on the sked came down last night at Lincoln Financial Field, which tells us the season is getting that much closer. John McMullen Jody McDonald here with you. How was your day at Lincoln Financial Field yesterday?
Yeah, it's game. Well, it's game week, Jody. So we got to get pumped up. Game day Friday. Philadelphia Eagles and your Jody McDonald's New York Jets. Yeah, open practice, the only one of the summer for the Eagles. You know, I was doing a football 24/7 with Xander Krause after the practice, and you know, everybody's pumped up. But I remember the days of Chip when they first did these things. There were like 50,000 people there, and it was fun. Now, it's a little bit different. They charge, and it's for a good cause, the Eagles Autism Foundation. But
and not an outrageous charge. You'd think
no, it's
you
$10
pay for a regular season ticket.
Yeah,
you get $10, not the worst thing.
But it is, you know, it used to be free when they
better
first
than
started.
yeah. It's agreed.
But you know, I think more of it is people kind of know what practice is now, so you're not going to get 50. They claim they got 30. I'm going to say 25 would be my guess. But it's still a lot of people for a practice in a really hot day, and the offense showed up, man. They made a big play in the passing game, so that excited people. And they broke out the RPOs, and I got to tell you, Jody, what are we doing here? Let's just build around what we have. Build around what you have. Jalen Hurts looked unbelievable. Remember, this defense has essentially dominated all summer. And they break out the RPOs in front of the fans, and they didn't know what to do. So, you know,
when you say they didn't know what to do, who's they?
The defense.
Okay.
The defense. You know, they had been dominating, and all of a sudden they pull out this wrinkle, which you don't see a lot of in training camp because there's not a lot of physicality. So the running game's not a big part of it. I always joke nobody cares about the running game until December. Boy, man. I mean, you know, I mentioned in the off season, really at OTAs, I was looking, I told a bunch of other reporters, Jalen looks like he lost weight to me. And he said, nope, didn't lose weight. And then last week he got asked the question again. And he said he didn't lose weight, but he remade his body a little bit. And he cut out the sugary drinks. He said he likes lemonade. He looks thinner, but he's still 220 pounds. But I think you saw last night the importance of that. He was much quicker. So you had this you saw the way he was dominant in the running game last year. Now he's much quicker, and he can still deadlift, 600 pounds. So he's still got the power. What are we doing? What are we doing dropping back? Oh, he's got to be a drop back. No, he doesn't. Build around what you have. Build around what you have.
So
and by the way, Jody, sorry to cut you off. I think Nick Sirianni will do that once he gets to the regular season. I think that's an indication. And I guess I have no problem trying to improve and things you need to improve with in practice. That's what practice is for. But boy, I hope this team doesn't waste 7 games trying to drop back and throw the football 40 times. Just take advantage of what you have. And if they do that, they are going to be very, very difficult to beat.
All right, but I'm going to play some devil's advocate for you here. So you think Jalen Hurts can be Lamar Jackson-like? Is that where you're leaning
I
to
don't
with
think
his ability to
anybody's
run the ball?
Lamar-like athletically, but he's as close as possible. I'm not going to say anybody's Lamar Jackson, but yeah, similar. I think they should do what Baltimore and build around the skill set of the quarterback. And San Francisco's my other comparison in a different way. San Francisco obviously has a great roster. They're able to make deep runs with an average quarterback. The Eagles have it, they have a quarterback with explosive ability. Now, it's different than what we typically think of. So they're even ahead of the game from San Francisco. So if you build around what you have, and I think that Giants game they lost is the best example of this for this reason, Jody. They were awful in that game. They played terrible. They played terrible. It was probably Jalen Hurts' worst game of the
I was
year.
going to say, most of it on the quarterback.
Yeah, he was terrible. But he kept coming, and he kept coming, and he kept coming. It didn't bother him. He made some plays at the end of the game. He had the team in position to win the game. He had the 2 drops. If Jalen Reagor catches one of them, they win the football game. It's a completely different narrative. And you know how I know that? Same thing happened in Carolina. He was awful. He was awful for the majority of that game. And he made a couple plays at the end everybody forgets about. They win the football game. That's the kind of player he is. Maybe he's not going to be hot every week, but his other abilities to move the chains when you need to, it makes it very, very difficult on the defense. But you got to build around it. You can't waste 7 games saying we're going to drop back and throw the football 40 times. Well, good luck. Then you're going to lose games you should have won. That's the bottom line.
All right. Now I'm really going to tick Eagle fans off because I'm going to continue to play devil's advocate. Everything you're saying makes sense. I understand the way you lead it. Why bother trying to force feed a passing offense that they might not be up to snuff? And okay, so they do everything they did last year. And they get to week 19. And they got to go down to Tampa to take on the Bucs. And guess what? You get up against a good defense with a quarterback who's going to make plays, and it's see you later, bye. And the season's over and done with. Is that good enough? Win your 10 to 11 games, but then know you're overmatched when you get against a better team that's going to be able to take you out of your Jalen run-based offense? Is that what the Eagles really want?
You have a smaller margin of error. And again, I go back to the 49ers. I talk about this a lot. Everybody wants a superstar quarterback. Everybody. I want everybody. Superstar passing quarterback. They're not easy to find. Great. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, even if you want to go younger, the Justin Herberts, the Joe Burrows. Yeah, I'd rather have them. I'd rather have them. I'd rather have the bigger margin of error. You have a smaller margin of error. What I'm saying is San Francisco proves you can do it. You can get to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they didn't get over the hump. You can make a significant run. Baltimore proves you can make it to the playoffs. They've struggled in the playoffs, so that's understandable. People look at that and say you can't win. But we've seen teams win with average quarterbacks. It's very hard. It's harder, but that's where you are. So to me, the definition of coaching, and I believe Nick Sirianni understands this. I'm not blaming Nick Sirianni. To me, this is more of an organizational problem. The definition of coaching is to accentuate the strengths of your players and minimize, any deficiencies as much as possible. That's what you're supposed to do with players. I look at Jalen Hurts, pretty easy to me. I'm taking advantage of what he does well. I'm trying to minimize what he doesn't do as well as maybe Justin Herbert. I mean, I don't understand I really don't, Jody. And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the Eagles, really. I don't understand what the problem is. Look, if you can get Russell Wilson, great. If you can get Deshaun Watson, well, from a player perspective, I don't want the headaches. Great. From a talent perspective. If you can somehow maneuver to get a superstar quarterback in the draft, great. What you have right now, all right? What you have right now is Jalen Hurts. You got 18 weeks, 17 games, and hopefully more. You going to try to maximize it, or are you going to try to fiddle around and pretend he's going to be Joe Burrow someday? He's not. So focus on what he does well. I'm really at the point after watching training camp for 8 days. I'm saying, you think the switch is coming on and he's going to turn into this monster high volume passer? I really, it's really starting to bother me. And I'm like, what is going on here? Just accentuate and build around what he does well. And fans got to see it in an open practice with these RPOs. I hope the Eagles do it.
Then, real simple one. Why exactly did they give up a first-round draft pick and agree to pay him $25 million a year and bring A.J. Brown, his good friend, in, who you continue to tell me he looks to first, second, and third read, and then if anybody else is still out there in the pattern, he may or may not throw it to him, or he may pull down a run. He'll pull down a run if John McMullen has anything to say about it. Why'd they go to the links that they did to get A.J. Brown if they're just going to run the same offense they did last year?
You still need good players, and A.J. Brown is a great player, and we talk about that, and I asked Nick about that before practice. I mean, the only targets in practice are A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert. And, it's good to have good players. 1-2, bang. A.J.'s always open. A.J.'s a very important part of this. I'm not saying Jalen, you saw it last night. Jalen Hurts can make plays throwing the football. It's just not going to be as consistent as you would like when you're comparing it to the Tom Brady's of the world and the Aaron Rodgers, and even if you want to go younger with the great young quarterbacks in this league. It's not going to be consistent. He can make plays passing the football. And when you have A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith, hopefully they get him involved, that's better for him because those guys are going to be able to make plays. I'm not saying go back to 1970. They're going to make plays in the passing game, but the running game is going to make it easier. A.J. Brown's going to make it easier for him. So I'm not saying completely take the air out of the football like Kyle Shanahan did with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jalen Hurts is an explosive player, and he can make plays in the passing game. But if you build your offense around the passing game, you're doing a disservice to the quarterback and the team. And I don't believe the coach is going to do that. And we'll see. Now, to me, the bigger issue, Jody, is the front office. Will they accept that? I don't have an answer to that because we know what they want. We know what they want.
Because Howie Roseman, and he did show some flexibility here during this offseason, said, well, sometimes when everybody in the world is zigging, I want to zag. That I'm not going to do it just because other teams around the league do it. And we all believe that they weren't going to make a play for a big wide receiver. And then, boom, A.J. Brown is here. And Howie zigged like everybody else. Well, you're asking him to zag when everybody else is zigging because the National Football League is a passing league. It's not a quarterback running league. It's a passing league. The teams that have won Super Bowls and made Super Bowls in the most recent past 3 years, 5 years, whatever, we'll go back, Lamar Jackson is it. He's the only one, and his playoff success is middle of the road. Not great, not bad. He's won playoff game, but certainly not, oh, my God, the league is changing type stuff. You're asking them to really zag when everybody else is zigging. You think they're going to do that?
I hope so. They did it last year. It just took them 6 games before they figure it out. So they've shown the willingness to do it. I don't understand after you went through what you went through in those first 6 games, why you would have such a problem. Look, the offseason is the offseason. Try to get what you want in the offseason. I have no problem with that. But once the offseason is over and your roster's in place, all right, you got to go with your roster. So you got to build around what your roster does well.
But then the roster, John, the way you're describing it, the roster comes down to one decision, the QB. That's it.
No,
Everything
the
else was done.
offensive line.
If you go get A.J. Brown and you pay him $25 million, you are absolutely putting up a flag that says, we want to throw the ball more than we did last year.
Yeah,
So now
you
you're
are.
saying, no, you shouldn't, because you're still being quarterbacked by Jalen Hurts, and his best play is keeping the ball and running with it.
Offensive line is what's the best part of this team? What's the best part of this team? It's not just about the quarterback. The offensive line is by far the best part of this team. I'm building around them as well.
What happened to the offensive line in Tampa in week 20?
Well, the other team gets paid as well, and the one aspect that Jason Kelsey, I don't think many people are going to criticize Jason Kelsey. He might go to the Hall of Fame, but he has trouble with big guys in the middle. Well, the biggest guy in this league in the middle right now, the most dominant guy, is Vita Vea. He had a lot of trouble with him. A lot of trouble. The other guys pretty much were okay. The quarterback didn't play well. Tampa Bay had a good game plan. They made sure to sort of put Jalen Hurts in the cup and force him left. They had a better game plan. They had a better coaching staff. Let's start there. With Todd Bowles developing that game plan, and the Eagles weren't able to adjust to it in game. They had a rookie coaching staff essentially, with a rookie head coach. There are a lot of things that went wrong, starting with the quarterback. But I'm not going to say because they're not dominant in every single game that the offensive line isn't the obvious strength of this team. It is. There's not too many people that can roll out Vita Vea against Jason Kelsey. So, a lot of times styles make bites, and he got kind of beat up in that game. But normally, if you have Jason Kelsey, you're going to have the advantage. So you can't get caught up in individual aspects. It's pretty obvious what this team does well. And again, I keep going back to San Francisco. San Francisco made the Super Bowl. San Francisco should have made the Super Bowl last year. San Francisco is a run-based offense, not the same way the Eagles are, because they don't have a quarterback with the mobility. Now they might with Trey Lance. We'll see how they go about it. That's what the Eagles should be doing. That's what the Eagles should be. And believe me, Kyle Shanahan wants to throw the ball, but he can't, so he doesn't. And they make plays in the passing game. We've seen Debo. When I say they can't pass it, in people, because people take that the wrong way. That doesn't mean you're not. Jalen Hurts makes way more plays than Jimmy Garoppolo in the passing game, but the consistency is not there. The consistency is not there. So if you're trying to pound the square peg in the round hole, you're saying, I want Joe Burrow. You got to be Joe Burrow. Well, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time.
But I think you have to have a level of competency at quarterback. And Jalen Hurts hasn't achieved that yet. He's got 20 starts under his belt as an NFL quarterback. He hasn't shown the level of a quarterback who can, with a good defense and with a good running game, and we know the Eagles have a good running game. They already showed that all last year, or at least once from the time they decided to attempt to run the football, they were very effective at it till the end of the season.
Well, we got to go to break. I'll just say one thing. That's where we disagree. I think he's shown competency as a quarterback, maybe not consistency as a thrower, but competency as a quarterback. And he's already proven he can make plays if you use him correctly. And that's up to the Eagles.
Well, are you talking about competency throwing the football or just competency making plays?
I say competency as a quarterback. He's not consistent throwing the football, but he's competent as a quarterback if you use him correctly.
Right. So, in other words, Johnny Mac still wants Jalen Hurts running the ball 12 times a game. I don't think you're going to get that out of this Eagle offense this year. I think they are determined.
And they're going to underachieve. Bottom line, I'll say it today. What's today's date? August 8th. If they do that all year, they're going to underachieve.
And underachieving would be how many wins?
less than 10, not making the playoffs. That type
Really?
of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll see about that. I think they will make the playoffs. I know what I'd like to see. You've been very expressive in what you'd like to see. I think they're going to win 10 games by just
Well, I got
pulling
him
up
at 11.
more than
What I
anything
have him
else.
at?
So
I got him at
you
11
had them at 11.
because
So
I
now
think
you're skimming back because you're afraid that they're going to try and
I'm
force
not
feed the ball
skimming
through the
back.
air.
I think Nick Sirianni will take advantage of the quarterback. I'm saying if he doesn't, I'm skimming back. I think he will. I think he'll say during the regular season, all right, we did it your way in the offseason. I'm going to try to win this game. That's what he did last year. I don't think he's going to fall back into that. I need 6 games. No, he's going to try to win September 11th in Detroit.
This year,
I believe that.
this year he's got. I think even again. I'm already on record. The question is not will the Eagles beat the Lions; it's by how many touchdowns. And I think they can do so any which way but loose. Don't think it's going to be much of a test in week number 1. But I think Nick Sirianni knows that Howie Roseman went out and spent $25 million on A.J. Brown, and it was not so Jalen could pump to him, pull it down, and take off and run for 18 yards. He is John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. Coming up, we're scheduled to be joined by one Mike Gill, our buddy from down the shore, 97.3 ESPN. We got Paul Domwich going to join us a little later. But first up, Mike Gill hops aboard Birds 365.